there's no way that I'm going to date a man that makes under $200K a year. So if you're not making $200K, you can't date me. You trying to date me? I only date millionaires, baby. Like,
see, my mama always said that I was real photogenical. And see, I want to take some of those sexy pictures, you know, in them lingerie drawers. Oh,
give me your keys, man. You ain't going nowhere, Carl. You owe me, man. The girl looks like a damn jackal.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Well, as if we didn't already know this, water is wet. We breathe air. According to new research, women are way crazier than first believed. You know, they always thought that men were the psychopaths, but it turns out that women are just about the same as men, according to at least new research. The difference is, though, that women, surprisingly, are better to hide it, and they're more sneaky, and they use their feminine, wild ways to go about it, where men are more blunt and straightforward. I initially saw this story on The Guardian. More women may be psychopaths than previously thought, says expert. But I went to the actual link of where all these news agencies are getting their information from, and this is from Neuroscience at news or neurosciencenews.com. They say the prevalence of female psychopaths more common than believed, and this is just data out from 2 days ago. So I thought I'd go down through this, but I think this is starting to explain a lot. You know, we talk a lot about how women don't have accountability and women are doing really, really crazy things, and the media and other women on social media are saying, you go, girl. Like, you know, don't worry about it, do your thing. And the media, of course, is supporting it because a lot of those articles are written by women, and so they're kind of all cheering each other on as they go crazy. And this is why a lot of men, a lot of conservatives, even a lot of kind of liberal guys are starting to say, like, women are just, they're kind of acting like adult children. Like they just want to do whatever they want, just no matter what the consequences are. And then when everything falls apart, they will not take accountability for what they do. So they say here, a summary, researchers provide novel insights into female psychopathy, challenging the conventional 6 men to 1 female psychopathy ratio, with new evidence suggesting a closer 1.2 to 1 ratio, meaning guys are just a little bit more psychopathic than women. The research indicates that societal gender biases have obscured the true nature and prevalence of female psychopaths, who often employ manipulation and seduction rather than physical force to achieve their goals. This revelation not only calls for a reassessment of psychopathy across genders, but also signals significant impacts for criminal justice and corporate leadership. Now, guys, again, that are kind of crazy, guys that are out there, they can be physically aggressive, they can be physically harmful, where women kind of manipulate and use their feminine ways to get what they want. We know this. We know this a lot, especially if you kind of look out throughout history. Guys are physically stronger. Guys are more assertive. Guys are more dominant. That's kind of what testosterone does to you, is that you use more physicality. That's why a lot of times, if guys have a disagreement, maybe they'll get into a physical altercation. One guy wins, one guy loses. Now, many times afterwards, they'll shake hands. That doesn't mean they're friends, but they just say, okay, we've got an agreement on what the situation is. Or one guy gets knocked the hell out, and the other guy walks away, and the guy, when he wakes up, says, okay, I lost that one. That wasn't such a good fight. What do women do? Women will lie about what the man has done. Women will lie to other women about, you know, her situation. Women, when she's getting into a new relationship, will lie about what the guy did in their last relationship. So the new guy, when he finds out, oh, she's had tons of boyfriends, or well, she wanted a real serious relationship, but all those men turned out to be bad. And then if you're relatively new to dating or a blue pill or whatever, all of a sudden you find out, oh, she lied. She lied. It turns out she was usually the manipulative bad one. So throughout history, men have used their strength and their physical force, and women have quietly done things on the undertones, manipulating men, manipulating society, manipulating things to get what they want. There's no surprise here. The big surprise is, I guess, that it turns out they're doing it a lot more than they initially thought. They say key facts. New ratio uncovered. Dr. Body's research suggests the real ratio of male to female psychopathy could be as low as 1.2 to 1, indicating female psychopaths are up to 5 times more common than previously thought. The bias in identification, traditional psychopathy measures designed around male criminal behavior fail to capture the more manipulative and seductive tactics employed by female psychopaths. Implications for society and business. The underestimation of female psychopaths has serious repercussions for the criminal justice system and organizational leadership decisions, highlighting a need for gender-inclusive assessment methods. Now, if you think about this, what does this mean? It means that women may be doing manipulative things. They may be lying. They may be using their feminine ways in many different ways. And because we don't really look at that as a society, it means they may be getting leadership positions. They may be getting in positions that maybe they're using these. And because they're in those positions, a lot of times when universities or whoever wants to look into this, it's poo-pooed. And they say, don't look into that research because I'm using it to my advantage. He says, referencing research into corporate psychopaths and how they operate in high-achieving roles in the workplace, Dr. Brody will explain how female psychopaths are more manipulative than males, using different techniques to create a good impression and utilize deceit and sexually seductive behavior to gain social and financial advantage more than males or male psychopaths do. Female psychopaths, while not as severely psychopathic, or as psychopathic as often as males are, have nevertheless been underestimated in their incident levels and are therefore more of a potential threat to business and society than anyone previously suspected. This is a key thing that I find interesting, is because they say, well, they're not quite as crazy as men are in some ways, but they're underestimated in their incident levels. They're more of a threat or potential threat to business and society than anybody actually thought, because they're not obvious. They're using their manipulation and their tactics to get their way. A guy that comes across as physically harmful or aggressive and hurts people physically, well, that's committing a crime, and that's very easy to identify. But women that are using manipulation, that are lying, that are perhaps using their feminine ways, and I think we all know a couple of politicians and other people in the news recently that are female, that it's been said they got into their positions of power based on sleeping with people. If you look at the criminal case, Fannie Willis, the prosecutor that's going after Trump. Some of the other ways that if you look at, for example, the United States vice president. Now, I'm not attesting that any of this is true, but there's lots of allegations that they have done some very naughty things to get where they are today, and that they may have broken the law in some cases. But because that's not a priority, because we're looking out for the physically dangerous people, that normally points to men. Where women, because they're able to manipulate things, they can actually do more destruction to, as they say, society and maybe even companies and things at large. If you look at what's going on at Disney, if you look at what's going on at Bud Light, if you look at what's going on with some of the gaming companies right now, these crazies are worming their way into these companies, and they're lying. They say they can do certain things for the companies or help them out, or they need to do things for the diversity and inclusion and all the other things. And what they're doing is they're really getting in there, and they're saying, you have a problem, now pay me and I'll help fix it. Or pay me and we'll help you make your games more inclusive, or pay me and we'll advertise to the crazy people, or all the different things. And what's kind of crazy is people don't realize that if you hire me to fix a problem, in many cases, if I fix the problem and the problem goes away, I'm no longer needed. And then once I'm not needed anymore, what am I going to do for work? This is brought up most often when you look at California. But the same also holds true for New York City and many other areas in the United States. When you hire people that are specialists that are going to come in and they're going to clean up the homeless population, or they're going to come in and clean up, I don't know, systemic isms and phobes and all these other things. When you're paying these people to fix it, they're not going to fix it, because if they fix it, then they're not going to get paid anymore. So what they do is they probably exacerbate the problem. So they say, oh, it's getting even worse. Now I need to hire more people, and you need to give me more money, and you need to give me more control, and you need to give me more power, and that way I can actually fix these problems. Of course, then they still can't fix the problems because they'd be out of work. They say this has implications for the criminal justice system because current risk management decisions involving partners and children may be faulty. It also has implications for organizational leadership selection decisions because female leaders cannot automatically be assumed to be more honest, caring, and concerned with issues such as corporate social responsibility. Now, that's key, and that has a lot to do with kind of what I just said. But if you think about it, women supposedly were also the less aggressive, the less harmful, all the things when it came to kids. And men couldn't be trusted sitting on an airline next to a kid, or they couldn't be trusted teaching. They couldn't be trusted with the youngins because if you got a crazy person, they would be obviously dangerous to kids. Come to find out, a lot of these women, almost the same ratio, are just as bad as the guys are, if not worse in some areas. So now you have teachers that are being inappropriate with under 18 young men. You've got teachers that are doing some awful things in daycares and other systems. Who's to say? And I think this is something that a lot of guys have been arguing is like, look, we're not bad people. You need to stop automatically assuming that women are the ones that are the best choice when it comes to all these, not only all these businesses and all these jobs, but also when it comes to taking care of the kids after a divorce. This study may kind of go forward in proving that fathers can be just as good, if not better in many ways, than the moms can be for the kids after a divorce. Now, will anything come of this? More than likely, no, because women have their claws into everything. And if you bring this data up and it threatens their positions, they're already in the positions. You're going to say, oh, this is fake science. This is just the patriarchy, even though it's Jamie Forsyth, which I don't know if that's a male or female, depending on who it is. I don't know. But they're going to come forward and say, oh, this is a flawed study. And that's the manipulation part coming through, is that if you have damning information about me, and I'm already in a position of leadership, I can push to silence you, push to discredit you, push to tell you to shut up, or to get my fans or people that like me to push back against this, because that's what I'd want to do, because then I can hold my position of power and keep manipulating like I have been. I mean, if you look at a lot of the politicians and a lot of the problems we have in the world right now, how many times have we said, why won't anybody stand up and actually fight for what half the population or more than half the population wants? It's because the people that are in power, both male and female, obviously, but the people in power are probably psychopaths, and they want to manipulate and do whatever they can to keep the most power that they can in the system. And so I think this is interesting. I don't think much will come out of it, but it is good to know that when you meet a crazy guy and he seems hyper-aggressive or he seems dangerous, women, just as many women are. The difference is they're going to be much more on the low key and much more, down under, to where you may not realize this until it's too late. And when we see, when you see couples and the guy's beating up the woman, or he's too physical with her, or he's loud and he's yelling and he's awful, when we see that clearly, you can obviously feel for the woman and say, oh, poor woman, she's with a crazy guy. But when the woman isn't that way, and she's more manipulative, and she's quiet, and she's lying, and she's deceiving, there's just as many women that are like that. But that isn't shown. Not everybody can see that. So a lot of times when men get divorced, or men have problems with relationships, or men have problems with girlfriends, and they say, oh man, she's horrible, it's very easy to say, well, it's the men that are horrible. What did you do? When in reality, it may very well be her, but because it's on the down low and she's doing it kind of secretively, people don't realize the manipulation and the craziness that's going on. Dr. Clive Boddy has been researching the effects of having psychopaths in the workplace since 2005 and has published more on corporate psychopaths than any other academic. His research interests include toxic leadership and particularly the effects of corporate psychopaths on employees, organizations, and society. And down here they have the original author and their information. So they say his talk is 6 p.m. on March 16th. It'll take place at our ARU's campus at East Road, Cambridge, and will also be able to attend virtually. So they do have it here, and it's via Eventbrite. The cost is free. I don't know if I can make this or not. I'll look into it a little bit. Maybe you have to be part of the students or staff. I don't know, but I'll look into it. But this is important to know so that, guys, just as many women say that men are bad, men are harmful, and men are toxic, and men are aggressive, and men are all the things, the truth is just about within a small percentage, women are just the same. The difference is they're not overt about it. They're not loud about it. They're not over the top about it. They come in underneath. They're sneaky. They lie. They use their feminine wiles to trick men or to get them to do things or sleep with them or whatever. So a lot of these marriages and a lot of these women in these relationships, when you think at the end of it, like, man, I got the wool pulled over my eyes. I didn't see it coming. I thought she really liked me. I was totally manipulated. There's a good chance, obviously, as you can see, that it's not you, that it's actually really happening out there. Just they didn't know to what degree, and it turns out it was a lot more than they initially believed. I'm gonna wrap it up here with a couple of videos, and I think this is very accurate and it's very telling. And here's a good example of it. In this case, she's not manipulating everybody else. Ironically, she's manipulating herself. And this is only a 12-second video, but it goes right to prove the point that we've kind of been discussing over the last several videos of mine, which is women. Now, I wouldn't say she's unattractive, but again, she has so much makeup on, it's very hard to tell. But these women are, sixes sleeping with tens, being chased by threes, and they think that they're a catch for everybody. And she even admits it. Now, of course, she doesn't say that she's sleeping with tens because she'd have to admit to having a high body count, and women won't do that. But she will admit, because she has a bunch of thirsty men paying to see her on OnlyFools, that somehow that relates to her being attractive and hot. So let's say a woman is average, completely average, right down the road, middle, 5, just generally speaking. If there are thousands of 2s chasing after her, that's kind of about how it would be, because there are men that are 10s that have thousands of 5 women chasing after them. So if you think of a woman as completely average, right down the middle, 5, and she has thousands of 2s paying her money to see her take her clothes off, you'd think she'd say, wow, well, they're only 2s though, so, but I'm still only a 5. Instead, these women think they're 10s because they have a bunch of 2s chasing them, not realizing that the 10s are just sleeping with them and using them.
I may not be a 10, but I do have 12,000 people paying $16 a month to see places where the sun don't shine. Even though I may not be a 10, I feel like a 10 because, wow, that's a lot of people. I may not be a...
So she admits it herself. She says, I'm not a 10, or I may not be a 10. But if she has, 16,000 guys paying her $15 a month or whatever it is, like, my brothers, you've got to stop giving these women $20,000, $25,000 a month to see them with their clothes off, especially mids. Like, I do not understand that. A lot of guys say, well, she's not a supermodel, but she looks like the girl next door. She's like a 6, and that kind of is hot to me. They know this. They know this. They know this, and that's why they're like, oh, I get so many followers, because everybody else thinks, well, she's not super hot, so maybe I have a chance with her. That's the male monkey brain somehow making sense of all this. And so while she knows she's not a 10 or doesn't think she's a 10, she now feels like a 10 and thus acts like a 10 because she's got a bunch of thirsty guys paying her money. She's got a bunch of thirsty twos paying her money to take her clothes off. This is what's throwing off the dating market. Between that and this girl posting something in a bikini on social media and it gets shared around, and maybe she's got a smashing body, even to where guys that are 8, 9, and 10 are like, oh man, she got a smashing body. And they hit the heart button, the like button, whatever it is. Then she sees the guys and she's like, wow, those guys are really handsome. And they just liked my photo. They must want me. Not realizing the guy's just like, nah, saying you got a nice set of cans and I'd sleep with you. That has nothing to do with dating, has nothing to do with marrying you or giving you any money or taking care of you or anything else. And so women are getting all of this confused and thinking they are much more valued than they actually are. This is part of that kind of narcissistic psychopathy that we were talking about. And lastly, I'll leave it with this. This is from Fresh Red Pill, which is, I think, a little clip that Fresh and Fit put out. And they're interviewing this girl, and she says it like it is, which is, hey, I want a guy that makes $500,000. Now, if you look at her, I mean, to me, she kind of like this look with the gold chain and the cross on it and her nose and her blonde hair that obviously isn't real because her roots are pitch black and her eyebrows are pitch black. What she looks like to me is every girl I would see in the 90s in areas that were like where the women were Italian, but they wanted to look like California blondes. So these Italians with a little bit bigger nose and the dark streaks in their hair and all the gaudy gold all over them because, hey, you got to wear the gold to show you got money, and the big hoop earrings. She looks like those trashy girls from the clubs back in the 90s to me. But because she gets attention from men on social media, she overplays her hand, and here's what you're going to get.
How much money does a man have to make per year to go out with you?
I would say definitely over 500,000. So like
US?
a million. Yes. Yeah.
So he has to make over 500,000, and then she says a little bit after that, definitely like $1 million. Here's the delusional calculator. I just put any not married. So if a single, this is from a female delusion calculator, whatever they call it. Anyway, not married, any race, any height, any weight. So that's like just a man that is not married, earning at least $500,000 per year. And they say that in the probability of a guy, and that's between the ages of 18 and 40, right, meets her standards is 0.084. So not even 0.1% of the population. She's looking for a man that's 1 in, 1,200, 12,000, whatever it is. Like 1% would be 1 in 100. So 1/10 would be 1 in 1,000. She's at 0.08. She's looking for a guy that's, 1 out of 1,200, 1 out of 1,400 men, 1 out of 1,500 men. Like at what point do you say, okay, that's finding the guy? Just probability of a guy in the U.S. that matches what she wants. What portion of them is going to say, oh, I would like a club girl that does only fools or is crazy or has attitude or whatever else, isn't a leftist or doesn't want to delete her kids by the, At what point do you just go, my God? Aaron Clary's got the book, I forget which book it is of his, A Bachelor Pad Economics. I think that's it, where he just breaks down, like, what are the odds? What are the odds that you're actually going to meet a woman that meets your criteria and it's going to last all the way through until the day you die, like a long-term marriage? It's like it's about the same percentage as that. Like, what is the point then? She's a rental, not a purchase. She's a good time, not a wife. She's a hookup, not a girlfriend. And because these women's standards are like that, she and 1,200 other women are going to chase after the same dude. And he knows it. And she's going to use her feminine wiles, and she's going to lie and manipulate and sleep with him using her sexuality to capture him. The problem is he's going to enjoy it and use her and then he's going to bounce, and then he's going to disappear, and then she's going to be angry at all men because she got used. This is the doom loop that we're in, because these narcissistic, psychopathic women think they're going to get somewhere, and they never do. They never do. It's just where we are. Guys, if you like my work, jump over to betterbachelor.locals.com. I put up more content there. We have forums where you can say anything, post memes. You can post links to videos you like. You can upload your own personal stuff, whatever. It's forums for guys, by guys, and it's guys. So come on over and check it out today if you'd like, and we'll see you in the next one.